Howdy everyone, today I have a special guest here. I have my friend Travis Easton. Am I saying it good?
Eason.
Eason.
Yep.
There you go. My accent is there, but we're gonna get it. Howdy, I'm Dr. Alejandro.
And I'm Dr. Emily.
And as many of you know, we have 3 clinics on our first 3 years in practice.
If you enjoy our content, make sure you subscribe and share with your colleagues and future colleagues to get on the path to victory.
You have to understand how things are up here.
Travis is a tattoo artist. Is that what you call yourself?
I'm an artist and I tattoo. Absolutely.
There you go. So 2 for 1 there. Sweet. Hey, I'm going to start with something that caught my attention. When I got my first tattoo ever, I went to this place and they're playing like loud music. I was 17 years old, loud music, rock. And like all of a sudden, like this guy comes and said, ¿Cómo te ayudo? Like in Spanish, I was in Puerto Rico and he was huge. All tatted, long beard. And like, I was intimidated, to be honest with you. I'm like, oh, I want a lion. And he's like, oh, this is what I can make. And, it looked cool. It didn't look amazing. It wasn't what I wanted at the time. But I wasn't going to tell the dude, I don't like it. He's huge, intimidating. So I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I could do it for this right now, 4 hours. I'm like, okay, sweet. And I got it done. At the end of the day, it was good. But the experience wasn't great. And something that I learned when I went to you for the first time, it was basically like a flip. Everything was the opposite. You were like, oh, hugs, oh, love. How can I help you? Like background music was super chill, like back in the day. So like, what got you into that? Can you talk to me about that?
Well, I think the experience that we have in anything, especially in business, is really important. So, and tattoo is really no different. I set out to try to create an environment that I would want to get tattooed in and continue just to try to be authentic with my clients, both in my skill level abilities, but also what I know about the body, fit and flow of design, and what I think will work, with some legacy for the client. The industry continues to evolve. It continues to change. But, one of my first experiences was very similar to yours. I was 19. I walked into this tattoo shop off the side of the road in rural Tennessee and wanted to get a Spider-Man tattoo. And the guy working there was not super helpful, interested, kind, but the owner came by on his motorcycle just to check in on the shop. Snake, his name was Snake. And good old boy, good old dude. And he saw the design and was like, hey, I want to do that. And took his time on it, made me feel as comfortable as I could at 19 in a, kind of questionable sanitation shop in rural Tennessee. But I had a good experience. It hurt. Man, it hurt, but I had a good experience because I felt like that old boy took care of me. He took care of the art. Yeah. And that stuck. And so, I never anticipated becoming a tattoo artist ever. This was not on my bingo card. But when it seemed like this was coming to fruition and it's what I needed to be doing for my family and for myself to stay in Abilene and to work as an artist, I knew immediately that I wanted to create a safe place, and a place where my clients, could come and we could work on their transformation together. Because I think at the end of the day, tattoo is a spiritual transformation.
It's forever. I have a question about that then. You mentioned to stay in Abilene. What got you into opening your own shop versus working for someone else?
Well, this was 2010. I was wrapping up my time at ACU and was going to graduate. And I knew that my options for work in this community at the time were pretty limited. And grad school wasn't an option. My former wife didn't, we had 3 kids, 3 dogs, cat, mortgage. She was not interested in picking up our system and going somewhere else for more school. And I don't blame her. So tattoo became a way for me to possibly fill the need of what am I going to do with my time? What am I going to do for work? And I don't feel like I answered your question very well, Alejandro. No, I totally blanked on what the actual
Well,
question was. That's
so
for an edit.
what got you into opening versus working for someone else?
Worse versus working for someone else. So generally, the industry still sort of focuses on apprenticeship. And looking at our local market at the time, there wasn't any businesses or artists in particular that I felt, this might sound egotistical, but that I felt that I could learn very much from.
Gotcha. No, yeah, that's fair.
And then looking again, it was like, okay, well, here's some other great people and shops across the country, but that defeats the purpose because we're trying not to move. So I took it upon myself to dig deep. I spent a lot of time and energy on education and finding the artists that were in the industry that were sharing pertinent, relative, safe information about technique, mostly about design.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's completely overlooked half the time. And that was really helpful. And then early on, I also I spent a lot of time traveling to conferences and networking, but also just hearing what was relevant
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And I've been very lucky because I think some of the choices that I made early on were the right choices for the long term, but I didn't recognize that at first.
Interesting. Okay. And then I have one more question, kind of on the same subject. And we're in the people business, right? Both of us. And as a chiropractor, I don't want to use the word hate because that's a big word, but I dislike when a patient tells me, you need to adjust me here, you need to adjust me here, this was hurting, you have to adjust me here. So I dislike when people tell me what to do. What is something you as an artist, what is something you dislike when a client comes to you? And what is something that you enjoy?
Well, I think, for the first decade or so of my career, I would get irritated or miffed by particular projects, and it used to be, for instance, your wonderful producer here has a small tattoo on his forearm. It's words.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just didn't like to do that kind of stuff. I don't know why. I just didn't. Or it was too Pinteresty for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
My ego was still involved. I think at this point, I'm happy to connect with a client regardless of what their design outcomes are for themselves. But I'm also a lot more comfortable suggesting, or making comments that they don't know because I'm the professional. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, that's really small. That might not age well. Hey, that's kind of an awkward placement. That looks weird. Not just for me, but for other people, and give them, explanations why.
Yeah.
Hey, that's upside down. That's backwards. Whatever the heck. But I also have found that, at this point in my career, maybe I've attracted it or just grown into it, but most of my clients are bringing me projects that I'm all about. I get excited about. We're going to start on your arm next week.
Mm-hmm.
Super stoked about
No,
the
yeah,
ideas that you have, the creative freedom that you've given me.
That's cool. I want to share that because I literally came with a bunch of ideas hey, Travis, I would like this, because this means this to me, and this means this to my family. What can you do? And you were excited about it. I didn't feel intimidating. Oh, Travis, I don't have anything. I just have ideas. But you were super helpful when you told me the placement. Hey, this is gonna age well if you do it here. So I appreciate that, and I want to talk about. I have a lot of patients that come to my office and they have tattoos, and I'm like, hey, I love your tattoo. Where did you get it? Oh, I go to Travis up north. So I feel your retention rate is great. What do you do for that other than, I know you make the client feel super comfortable because, Emily and I have been your clients and we feel super comfortable. What do you focus on to get your client into to retain them whenever they want another tattoo to come back to you?
When I first opened my studio, I had found it's like a little emblem, like a little wooden block with a placard on it that has a saying, and it's from the Rotary Club. It was from my grandfather. And I'm pretty sure that the saying is, I'm going to maybe misquote it, but is it true? Is it right? And is it good for everybody involved? And I think that that's just a really great motto to have in your pocket about almost everything. But in business, for sure. Is it true? Is it right? And is it good for both of us? And so I've had that modus operandi from the beginning, and I think it's shown. If you are a tattoo collector, I brought my friend Katie with me here today. She's a tattoo collector. She's been to lots of artists, and you find that sometimes you make a connection with your artist and sometimes you don't. And they can be really good and you can spin an arm and a leg. But at the end of the day, I want you as a client to have a good experience from the design and consultation through the process of the tattoo, which could take months, years sometimes. I'm not going to anesthese you and put you on the table and knock you out. The most I'm going to work on a client is about 3 hours, because as a chiropractor, you know, the body starts to fall apart. And I want to have some legacy, some longevity in my career. And I've, you know, after 15 years, I've already struggled with various, you know, situations, sciatica and such, that kept me from working. So knowing what my limitations are and knowing what the client probably can sit for, about 3 hours with the least amount of trauma done. All these things together, like I said earlier on, I think I made some decisions early on to protect myself and my family, and that those have borne fruit through the business.
So it's like your core values. And that's every listener, I want you to think about this, because as a chiropractor, you could use this. He mentioned he only does 3 hours at a time for his body. And you've been doing it 15 years, you mentioned. So, you know, in school, they tell you like, yeah, see 200, 300 patients a day. Think about if that's sustainable. Because when Emily was on maternity leave, I was seeing a lot of patients by myself. I didn't enjoy it. I'm going to be honest with you. And I was getting home super tired. My body was defeated. So you have to think about that and take that note there. Something else I want you to talk about is I recommend every chiropractor that asks us for help to get involved on the community. You know, you need to give back to your community, let your name out there, because probably they don't need a chiropractor now. But whenever they need a chiropractor, they're going to think about that person that was involved with the community and that helped them. How do you do that? Because I know you're pretty involved with the community. What do you do for that? Because every time I talk to someone, they know you. It could be from that when you were helping on the brewery, or, you know, on the art at ACU. So how do you get yourself out there?
You know, it's interesting. When I first started, I was talking to another young male tattoo artist in town. He was like, how does everybody know you? And I think, I mean, I moved here in 2001 as a nobody. Nobody knew me. But, you know, I got involved. I got involved through volunteer things. You know, we got married and had a child young, but we were involved at church. We went to Highland. We got involved in small groups. Of course, we live in Abilene, which is a very church community, you know, religious oriented community. But for us, that was helpful. Yeah, my time at ACU, I worked there as well as being a student. And I'm kind of a hermit, you know, I really don't like to be out that much, and being in big public settings is a little overwhelming for me sometimes. I'm sort of an internal person, but I just try to be authentic, truthful, and honest in all of my relationships. And I think now that I've got a few years under my belt, that's paid off, because people know that I'm authentic, truthful. Oh, it's Travis.
Yeah.
He's easy to talk to. He's creative. He's an artist. He can help you do a number of different projects. It's funny, on Facebook recently, I've been posting some of this project I've been doing up at ACU, which is painting scenery, and it looks fun. It looks good on camera. And I get so many likes and comments about that. But then I can post about, hey, come see me for a tattoo or something else, and it might get 2 or 3 likes. So it's just interesting what people want to see too from you.
Yeah.
Like what is the content that people want to garner from you, you know? And we also are doing a podcast down the street at Neon Parrot Live. You and Emily are going to come on in a few weeks for that. And that's been fun for me, because I've been able to reach out to people in the community that I think are interesting, that are characters in the storybook capital of America in Abilene. And so then that, it gets me out of my comfort zone and help make those reconnections. I'm not a big networking guy, even though it is all networking.
Yeah, but you still do it.
You're
still out there. No, yeah. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
I know you're busy. Thank you for coming. How can people find you? Social media or wherever?
TravisEason.com is my website. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on TikTok if you want to see some fun golf content.
Dude, it's always golfing.
Always golfing. Love it.
No, yeah. Thank you for coming, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for letting me be here today.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it.